Continuing on with the TMCC Library Open Genealogy Lab Outstanding Guest Speaker Series, today we are pleased to present Jane Theissen. Jane is a retired librarian, having worked as a trainer for a library software company and as a reference librarian at a small private university in St. Louis, Missouri. In 2021, she moved with her husband from St. Louis to Bluffton, South Carolina, just off Hilton Head Island to the west. She began doing genealogy research with her mother in the 1990s, tracing both her maternal and paternal lines. Last year, she wrote a book about her father's family and gave it to her family as a Christmas gift. This year, she's working on her mother's side of the family, and she has managed to get most of the ancestral lines back to Europe, Germany, and to Austria-Hungary. Jane currently volunteers 1 day a week as a librarian for the Heritage Library, a history and genealogy nonprofit on Hilton Head. She also serves as co-editor of the St. Louis Genealogical Society's quarterly publication. In today's presentation, Jane will discuss what the South Carolina Heritage Library is, how they work to preserve and share the history of the Lowcountry, and how they assist genealogists in preserving and sharing their own histories with special focus on our resources. So I'd like to offer a warm virtual welcome to Jane.
Thank you. Thank you. As Suzanne said, I volunteer at the Heritage Library 1 day a week, and the library is a very small place. We definitely need more space. But we are located on the south end of Hilton Head Island, about 45 minutes from Savannah and about 2 hours south of Charleston. So it kind of gives you an idea where we're at. We're one of several barrier islands on the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. And the Heritage Library Foundation is a nonprofit. So we kind of do what we can with the money that we have and do a lot to raise money. Okay, so basically our focus is both history and ancestry. We're a repository for Hilton Head Island history specifically. We have a lot of Hilton Head documentation and history resources. The organization is a result of a merger between the Hilton Head Historical Society and the Hilton Head Genealogical Society. So you can kind of see where we have our two focuses from. We also own 2 historical sites that are on Hilton Head Island. I think those came with the Historical Society. One is Fort Mitchell, and the other one is Zion Chapel of Ease Cemetery. I'm going to talk about those a little bit more in a minute. We are an all volunteer run organization, except we do have a paid director. Our volunteers are experienced genealogists, local historians, and other people that just want to come and help out, do whatever they can. So it's really a nice group of folks that we have. The 2 historic sites that we have, Zion Chapel of East Cemetery is the first one, and it also includes the Baynard Mausoleum. This area is almost kind of in the center of the island, and it was the location of the first Episcopal church that was built around 1788. The church itself is not still there, but there's a mausoleum that was built in that area as the cemetery grew up that is still there. And it's probably a 10 by 10 building made out of stone. And no matter what hurricanes have come and gone, it's still there. And I don't think it's ever going anywhere. It is also the burial site of 4 Revolutionary War heroes and many other early residents of Hilton Head Island. By early, I mean 1700s, some 1800s as well, but mostly 1700s. Fort Mitchell was a Civil War fort that was built by the Union Army once they arrived on Hilton Head. They built the fort in 1862 to protect the southern entrances to the area from the Confederate gunboats that were plowing the waters around here. Both of those are on the National Register of Historic Places, and we have tours that are given at both of those places during the week. So if you're ever on Hilton Head Island, check those out. They're really interesting. We have some reenactors that do those, and so they have dressed up in period costumes and take different people, historical people that are either buried in the cemetery or fought in the fort, and kind of tell their story as they go through their presentation. So it's kind of interesting to get an interesting, different kind of a view of the history of what happened here. We have a couple of history projects. I'm kind of getting through the history stuff so we can get onto the genealogy stuff, but I want to give you this part as well. Our website is full of all kinds of really, really interesting things. And I sent a handout. So if you have that handout, our URL is on there. So if you get a chance, sometime just go pull it up, and there's tons of stuff on there that you can learn about Hilton Head Island and the history of what's going on around here. The first one is a series of videos called Our Storied Island. And we went around and recorded video of some people who have been on the island for a long time, or people who just really love living on the island, and had them talk about what it is they love about the island or what their memories are of the island. There's probably about 12 of those right now, and they're short, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So they're kind of interesting to listen to and watch. And they're really short, so you can kind of won't take a long time to get through those, but they're interesting. Another thing that we just did a couple of years ago is called the Name Project. And we wanted to do something along the lines of Who Do You Think You Are television show that's on PBS. And we had a volunteer who said, go ahead and do my family. He is U.S. Army Colonel Lamont Wells, who offered to, let us do this project with him. And as it turned out, as we went through this project, he has ancestors that are connected to this island. That was kind of an unexpected surprise as we were doing it. But there's also a video on our website of that whole process and kind of unveiling all of that information to him. So again, especially if you like that TV show, it's an interesting video to watch. We also are currently working on, and have been working for a while, on an heirs property project. And what this involves is documenting ownership of land that African Americans purchased on Hilton Head right after the Civil War. And because when you registered the deeds and all that paperwork had to happen, that all happened far away from here. And a lot of people didn't have access to be able to get to those places. And so sometimes that paperwork never really got processed. But the land got handed down from generation to generation. And so now those people need documentation that they really own that land. And the way that we are handling that is to try to put their family trees together to verify that, their ancestors were the ones that actually purchased this. So it takes a lot of genealogical work, especially because a lot of families, people moved away. And so there are a lot of people that don't even know they own part of the land here anymore. People had children. Some of the children moved away, some of them stayed. And as the generations went along, a lot of people don't even realize that they're an heir to any of that property on Hilton Head Island. So that's a big process that we're working on. And it takes a lot because you're looking for current living people to connect these people back to. So it's almost reverse genealogy, because you have to start with current living people and work your way back, which is not always easy to find people that are all of the heirs that are still living. So that's a big project that we've been working on, and probably will continue to work on for a while. Okay, let's get to the genealogy part. In 2014, USA named the Heritage Library one of the 10 great places to trace your family roots. We are a family history center affiliate, which means that if you find something in the family search library, and it gives you that little icon next to the entry that you have to be at a family search affiliate library or at the family search library itself to view that microfilm or those records, you can come to our library and do that. And I kind of save all of mine up, so when I go in to volunteer, I can go through them all while I'm there. We have several databases that are available on site, and these are also all on the website. So if you take a look at the website, you'll see a lot of these things. American Ancestors, and they are currently doing a lot of classes, presentations right now. So if you check out their website, I just got an email today with a whole list of their classes going on. We have Ancestry Library Edition, Fold 3, and we also have Heritage Quest. Heritage Quest is available at home for our members. So once you have a membership, you'll get a login for that. We also have a whole page of links that are free to get you more information. And, you know, I have always kind of wanted to put together a web page of all my links, because there are so many of them, I kind of lose track of what I have. And this is almost like what I would like to do. It has a whole list of all free things. Cindy's list is on there. Family Search is on there. Roots Web is on there. And there's lots of other ones as well. But it's a good place to go if you're kind of stuck and you don't know, like, where else can I look? It's a good place to, like, just kind of jog your memory and give you some ideas of other places to check for records. We also have some things that are available on our website that you don't have to be in person on site to use. One of them is a list of digitized family surname files. We have probably close to 600, I counted them, 600 files, different family names on this list. And it doesn't go into huge detail on most of them, but it does give you a pretty good picture of the family, some of the descendants, and gives you a good idea of when they were in America. I don't know that I haven't really looked to see how many of them were totally from South Carolina or from this area, but I would suspect most of them are. But there's a whole lot of people, so I'm sure there's, you know, at least some of those people didn't stay here all the time. We have a lot of African American and Low Country Gullah resources. Until I came to South Carolina, I had never heard the term Gullah, and I had no clue what was that. It is a group of African Americans that kind of after the Civil War, they kind of got isolated on this island, and so they developed their own culture and their own language, and their own customs. And they right now, there's a big push on to preserve that culture and the language, and it's a very interesting thing. It's kind of a mix of English and African, the African language that they came here with, and so there's a lot of those kind of resources here that, you know, we're trying to support that community and provide some more information for them. We also have history and culture resources that aren't really available anyplace else on Hilton Head. Anywhere else about Hilton Head. So we have a lot of like first print of editions of books, and just a lot of bits and pieces of history about, especially about the island, but also about the Low Country and the area here, that you have a hard time finding someplace else. We also, as I said, have genealogists to answer questions and help with research. I was talking a little bit earlier, we have probably three to five volunteers every day at the library. And we have, coming up in the next month, 2 large groups that are coming in to get research help. And so we kind of break them into groups and give them 2 hours sessions at a time. We do 2 hours in the morning, and then another group comes in and we do 2 hours in the afternoon. And we help them get started with their research if they don't have any idea, or help them get past a brick wall if that's where they're at. Wherever they're at and whatever they're interested in doing is what we spend that time helping them try to get a little bit further and understand where to look for things. We also have DAR and SAR experts at the library that volunteer. One of the gentlemen that I work with on Wednesdays is connected with the SAR and does a lot of research for those people. In fact, last Wednesday, he was talking to somebody that he had been doing research for, and was trying to make an appointment for him to come in and catch up with the new information that he found. And so that kind of information and those kind of resources are always available also at the library. All right. All right. So the Library Research Center, we have probably about 5,000 items in our catalog. Books, maps, periodicals, family histories. We have a huge vertical file, probably 4 or 5 4-drawer cabinets full of stuff. And the books that we have, we cover the gamut on subjects. So we don't have just South Carolina or just Low Country. We have world history, we have African American, we have Native American, we have some general genealogy, if you just are getting started, those kind of books. We have books from numerous countries. Strangely, we have a huge collection of Irish research books, which somebody must have donated them, because we have like probably 4 or 5 shelves of them. Other countries as well, and probably most of the US states. I haven't gone through and done a double check through all of them, but we have pretty many of them. And of course we have, bigger sections for New England, Southeast United States, but we've got pretty many for other places as well. We also have census substitutes for Hilton Head, and copies of the pension files for the colored troops that served on Hilton Head in the Civil War. We had a volunteer go up to Washington, D.C. and make copies of all of the colored troops' pension files, which was a huge project. So we have those in paper in our library. We are in the process of digitizing those, and I don't know how long it's going to take before we can get those onto their website, but we're in the process of doing that. We also have a lot of Civil War and Revolutionary War books and resources, which I was surprised when I got there the first time to see all of those, because I didn't expect, I just didn't expect that they would have that much of a collection of those. We have a great collection of both of those. Our periodicals are a lot of Genealogical Society magazines and quarterlies and periodicals. I I am working slowly on getting those into the catalog. They're not all in the catalog, but if you find something that you could use or that you need, a couple of pages or an article copied out, we can certainly do that kind of thing. Because we have things that go way back. We have stuff to the 1800s magazines, and we have even some that probably don't publish anymore, including things we have a lot of Civil War periodicals and some Revolutionary War periodicals as well as genealogical society things. Okay, that is pretty much all I have. So we've got some time left. I'd like to just give you guys a chance to ask some questions. I can answer stuff about the library here, or if you have some general genealogy questions, I can try to answer those too.
Okay, class, I'll open it up and just turn on your microphone. Please leave your camera off and ask our guest speaker any question you have. And while I'm waiting, Jane, for some questions to come through, I've got a couple myself. The heirs project, that is fascinating to me. Who is the typical person that comes to your office for help on this heirs project? Is it like a great granddaughter, or how do they reach out to you? How do they find out about your program?
Well, we've been trying to advertise this everywhere because Hilton Head Island is a big resort development place, and so developers will come in and want to buy some property or a huge swath of property, and there's no deed. So they have to go through, somebody has to go through and figure out who owns that land and how to get the paperwork straightened out. And so that's what that project is. It's a lot of, and it's the great-great-granddaughters and, those kind of people and a lot of the people who live on the land who never even thought about having a deed, but somebody wants to buy their land and now they need it, and sometimes they don't want to sell it, but they need that protection that they have that deed. And so, yeah, we've been doing a lot of those.
So what is the process? I mean, do you just start with looking at census records? What do you do step by step?
Well, I'm not involved in doing it, but one of the ladies that volunteers with me on Wednesdays is, and you kind of have to start with the person who comes and have them list any relative they can think of. And you have to research all those people and do their genealogy back up the tree or back into the past. And so, if I'm coming and I need a deed for my property, then I tell you, here's all my brothers and sisters, and eventually you're going to have to reach out to all the cousins and on to trace that line back. And so, they have to come up with those names, and they have to do a lot of, searching on the internet for people. It's kind of like, how do you track somebody down who's still alive that you don't really know where they live or how to get a hold of them? So it's a lot of that kind of stuff that they do. And then talking to those people and moving back the next generation.
And you can actually turn that into a deed?
Well, you turn all that paperwork in to somebody at the county who handles all of that. And there's lawyers that will help work with it, that help them figure out exactly how to make that work to be able to prove that these people own that land. I don't really understand all the ins and outs of it, but we have a lot of volunteer lawyers that help do this and help them, get through the process.
Wow. You know, that sounds like it'd be a great article to read into, to put into a journal, publishing like one case history, showing
Mm,
step by step how that was done. That's really incredible. I
yeah,
mean,
it's,
as a researcher, I can definitely appreciate the amount of energy and time it must
oh,
take to see that from start to finish.
yeah. And it's not just one person that works on it. They have a whole team for each, I think for each case that, because it takes a lot of people to be involved in that. We have a newsletter on our website. There's a place where you can get to the newsletter archives, and they've written a couple of articles in there about this whole process and the whole project. If you're interested, that would probably be a great place to go look at for more information.
Well, speaking of your website, before I ask you to switch over to your website to kind of show us how to navigate through your website, I assume that because you have your email there, librarian@heritagelib.org,
Mm-hmm.
class can reach out to you at this address and ask questions.
Definitely,
Okay,
definitely.
okay,
Yes. Now I'm only there one day a week, so don't expect something the next day. But I'm more than happy to do what I can or answer whatever questions I can.
great. Okay, Bill wrote in the chat box, I know the Gullah were often associated with rice farming due to their African experiences. Were they also farming indigo in the Sea Islands Low Country?
They were a lot of indigo until that market dried up. And then they also did a lot of Sea Island cotton here, which was was a longer staple cotton. And it was a lot more difficult to grow and process because you had to take the seeds out by hand. You couldn't gin it. And so, yeah, so that too, we had all of those going on here.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, if you could quit sharing and then maybe switch over to your website and then start sharing again, because we'd love to see your website and tell us about how to navigate it.
Okay. See if I can do that.
Jane, is there any kind of a fee associated with asking for help with research?
We have a membership that, yeah, it's being slow. We have a membership. So on the website, you can see that information. It's $85 a year. And then people can come in as often as they want. It's best to make an appointment just to make sure somebody's going to be there. But, they can make appointments for that. I think there's also a $25 student membership as well. So people can do that.
And if you don't want membership, if you just want help on one particular research issue, do you charge by the hour, by the page? How does it work?
If you want to come into the library, it's like $10 a visit. So, but again, make an appointment. I would definitely make an appointment because you just sometimes don't know. Okay, so my internet froze up there. Let's see what we got here.
And while you're doing that, Karen has asked in the chat box, she understands that you wrote your own family history, and she was wondering if you could share your process on writing your family history.
Certainly, I would be happy to do that. Let's see if we can get this to share. All right, are you seeing that?
No,
screen?
not yet.
Oh, here we go. Let the press share. There we go.
Okay, now we can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I did, my mom and I researched for a long time, and actually, wonderfully, I should say, my nieces and nephews asked for information. They were always a lot of them were always interested about the family. And so I just pretty much started taking all the research that we had done and writing up a narrative for each family. So I started with my great-great-great-grandfather who came to America and wrote what I knew about him and what I knew about his wife and the children, all based on the information that I had found researching. Some of it was birth, marriage, death kind of information, but I also try to do a lot of meat on the bones kind of things. So I would research kind of the social history or what was going on in the wider world at that time. What was it like for immigrants coming over? What kind of things could I find in the newspapers? Those gave me all kinds of little tidbits to make it a little more of a story than just birth, marriage, death dates. And so I just kind of went through and did that for each family and put it all together, and then added documents and photos and pictures that I had. And I have a publisher in St. Louis that took that and put it into a book form for me, so that I could give it out as gifts. So I've got, it turned out really nice. It was probably, I was shocked, 170 pages. I was very surprised. But it was an interesting process to go through. So if she has other questions, or anybody else has other questions about that, I'm happy to go through that.
How many copies did you have printed?
I had about 35 copies. There's about 24, 25 people in my family that I gave them to. And so that I have some extras here, just to have some extras, because the minimum that they will print is 25 copies. And so I wanted to have some extras just in case I needed them and didn't have to go back and get another 25 copies.
And do you mind sharing the name of that publisher?
Certainly. It's called No Waste Publishing. No Waste, W-A-S-T-E Publishing. And they are in St. Louis, Missouri. So they took, I sent them a PDF of the whole book, exactly the way I wanted it, the pictures in it and everything, the index, the table of contents, the whole thing in one big long PDF file. And then they printed it. And I also had somebody from there put together a cover for me. And so they just used that and bound the whole thing. And it turned out really, really nice. They did a really good job. Was it hardback or paperback? It's a hardback. It's a hardback. And it ran me about $35 a piece. By the time I had about 4 pages of color pictures put in the middle of it. The rest of the pictures are all black and white. And it probably took, I sent it to them the end of October, and I had it back by the middle of December. Wow, not bad. Yeah, they did a great turnaround. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I really encourage in this class is to self-publish. It's something I've been stressing for over 6 years now, because I think it's so important to, to get all your information that you've been researching all these years out there to be preserved. It's really important. And the hardest thing for me is to stop researching and start writing. I think that's the hardest thing. And with my dad's family, I had a lot of research done. With my mom's family, not so much. So I've been researching and writing at the same time right now, which slows the writing down considerably. But I'm finding some really interesting stories, and I hate to miss those when I put this book together. And so, kind of doing both at the same time, which is working, So, but it's just really important to get something on paper, I think. Did you donate any copies to genealogy libraries? I did not, because I put a lot of living people in it. And so I didn't want to put that out there yet. I may eventually do that. But at this point, I haven't decided to do that. I see. So that was the hardest thing is, I didn't want to leave that part off, because that's kind of my experience. And that was part of, I think, what the nieces and nephews were interested in. What was life like for you and your siblings, our parents, and and your grandparents. And so while those people are still living, it's hard to kind of get that out there. Understood. Okay, well, let's look at your website. All right, so here is the main page, and right on the front is our Story Island video series. So these, you just click on these, it tells you 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And so it'll just go through all of those little videos. Here's a link to our newsletter and all of the archives that will take you to the archives. And for the past couple of years, I've been putting an article in there too. So there's a lot about our print resources, our database resources. And we also have a book club that we are working with a public library here on. So this past issue, I wrote about that in there. We also do several tours, as I said, of both the Zion Chapel of or Cemetery and the Fort Mitchell. And so those would be here, upcoming events. During October, we do something a little bit different. At the cemetery, we do a ghost and myths presentation. And so we have characters that are dressed a little more ghost-like and present their stories, and they do it in the evening, and so it's a little spookier. But those go on, and these are sold out every single night we do them. I think we've got 50 plus for every single night we do it. We only do it 4 nights. This week is when they're doing them, just 4 nights. We also do classes. Most of these are in-person classes. Once in a while, we'll do a Zoom class, but these, at least that are on the website, are all in person. But it's any topic. We do a lot of topics, but mostly on South Carolina history, Hilton Head history, that kind of thing. And then here's the name project. So this is that video of Colonel Lamont that I told you about, and that whole process that we went through with doing his research and his response to all of that. It was very cool. Here's a little bit about who we are, and then search this website, search the catalog, and a donate button. Here's where we're located. So we are way on the south end of the island, but that little map will give you some directions how to get here. So I'm going to pop back up to the top and some of the things at the top of the website. Well, I'm going to click over here because I can't see the top of the website. So the first one is Find Your Roots, and it talks about all these different options for doing genealogical research. So just some general information. There's African American research. There's the census substitutes that I talked about. Lawton and other allied families. Again, Lawtons were a very big family here at the beginning of Hilton Head history. So there's a huge section on them. There's the surname family list that I was talking about. And then Life on Hilton Head. So this is a lot of those Storied Island videos. Classes and culture. So again, lots and lots of information. We've had people walk around cemeteries and get some of, names and dates and stuff that was in the cemeteries. We have all of that stuff in the library, as well as on the website. We have a lot of that kind of things. There's our classes. And all of the tours you have to register for ahead of time. There's our book club. And then there's a whole list of I want to. So if you want to get the newsletter, there's a place to sign up for that. You want to search our catalog. You want to become a member, make a donation, all those kind of things. And here's a place to volunteer, if you wanted to do that too. Again, some stuff about us. And there's the Heritage Quest online access for the people at home. Talks a little bit about our facility and our publications. So that's pretty much the website. Let me real quick go to search the, let's go back here, search the catalog so I can show you what this looks like a little bit. Actually, I don't think you have to do this. I think if you just, I always have problems with this because this shouldn't come up here where you have to sign in.
So the password is optional. You don't have to put in a password?
Well, you shouldn't have to even go here. Let me try this one more time. There you go. Yeah, so you don't have to put a password in.
And what was it that you put in there to get
It's
in?
Heritage LIB. Heritage
okay.
LIB.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have to talk to her about that because that shouldn't even show up. It should just go straight into the catalog here. So search the catalog, and basically, you're just going to put in whatever it is you're searching for. So let's say we're going to do Civil War here. Are we working? There we go. Okay. So, and it comes up with, I don't know how many things. There you go. 527 items about the Civil War. And so this could be mostly these are books, but sometimes you'll go through here and see maybe a periodical, or we do have some DVDs. We do have a little bit of microfilm. So you'll see some of that in here too, but mostly these are books going through here. So that's pretty much how you get into searching the catalog. And one of the articles that I wrote, I think it was maybe April in the newsletter, has a good description of how to go in and search the catalog to find different ways to kind of go through and do your searches if you're having trouble finding stuff. So that is pretty much the website.
There's a lot of interest in your self-publishing book. Lori put in the chat box that she's trying to put together a book about her grandfather. She put aside the writing to research. Did you do it in stages? Some research, then some writing?
Well, with my dad's, I mostly had the research finished, at least to the point that I could get it. Now, at that point, I didn't have my great-great-grandfather coming over. I had no idea where he was from on the other side of the ocean, but that was a brick wall. I just couldn't get past that. And so finally, I'm like, I'm just going to write what I got. As I was writing, I would kind of see, I need a little more information here, or I need a little piece of some interesting little story. And so I would go do a little bit of research for that. Maybe look in newspapers or see if I could find something like that. Or like I said, do some background on what life was like. They were in Cincinnati. And so what was life like in the 1850s in Cincinnati, that kind of stuff. Mostly I had that research done, and I just wrote. This time I don't have all that research done. And so I'm doing both at the same time. But I pretty much, I did both of them in less than a year's time, the writing part, because I had the research done, and I had a deadline of, I want it for Christmas. So that helped because I had promised for several years that I was going to do this. And finally, I just told my nieces and nephews, Christmas, it'll be here for Christmas. And so that gave me a deadline. And that was the best thing that I could have done, because I don't think I ever would have gotten it on paper otherwise.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. If we can go back to your website for a minute.
Sure.
You mentioned that you had digitized your what we call vertical files, but I guess you're calling them family surname files.
Yeah, that family surname file is up there. Let's see.
Now, what caught my interest about what you were saying about the vertical files is that we've had a lot of guest speakers in the past that have talked about vertical files, but they're not digitized. They're usually in filing cabinets.
Right.
And then you have to go to the, to the librarian's office and find out if there's, a file there. And then, she has to go through it if you're remote, and find that
Right.
information that you're looking for. Can you kind of show us your vertical files that you've digitized?
Well, we have a lot of those. We have probably 20 drawers of that stuff. And that is not online. That is, sitting there and people have to go through it. We do have, let's see. Go finding your roots. Okay, so here's the family surname files that I talked about. And these are just, you scroll down the list, we've got about 600 of them here. And if you click on one, maybe that's what's in it. I mean, they're all different. So, this one gives you an article about her. Another one will give you, maybe more of a obituary or more of a longer article about it. So yeah, there's kind of hesitant to click this off because I don't know what's going to happen with that. Okay, so yeah, okay. So, you can kind of see that they're just, oh, see, I knew I would lose it.
That's okay. I think we got the understanding. So
but yeah,
whatever was digitized is there.
Yeah. And we're putting more and more stuff on there, but takes staff and it takes time.
Well, I applaud your project because that's like I said, we've had a lot of guest speakers in the past, and I've yet to see anyone who says that they're digitizing their vertical files. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing you're doing.
Yeah. We have some really interesting things in there. And again, that's probably where a lot of that's unique stuff we have that nobody else has. That's probably where a lot of it is, because we had people who would clip newspapers and put articles in there a lot for a long time. And, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there that I haven't really had time yet to go through all of that or even dig into any of it. But there's a lot of gems in there.
I can imagine. Yeah, because we all know the importance of vertical files. It's just that getting to them when you live far away is like such a task.
Yeah. Now, I think that we do have in the catalog, you can see, if you look up, I don't know, pick somebody, Charles Fraser was a man who did a lot of the early development of Hilton Head when they started back in the 50s, when they started developing the resorts. So if you search on him in the catalog, you probably find the vertical file, and it just says we have a vertical file on him. It doesn't tell you what's in it, but as long as you know it's there, I could certainly look through it and send stuff, if somebody's find something they're interested in.
Great. Okay. Well, let me open the floor back up to the class again. If anyone has a question, please unmute your microphone. Ask the question. We'll give it a few seconds here, Jane. Okay, well, it looks like you've answered all the questions. Do you have a copy of your book available that you could kind of hold up so we can see what the quality of the publisher is doing?
Yep. So here it is.
Yeah.
You see it? Yes, I had a great time picking pictures for the cover. And this big picture right here is my grandmother and her sister on their first communion back in probably 1912. So I did that. And then the inside, it's pretty much just, very, it's just exactly how I laid it all out. And I used Word to lay it all out, and then the back. And I did it all in Word and then just saved it as a PDF file and sent it to him. And she just printed exactly the way I had it laid out.
Wow. And that looks like it's a glossy cover. Is that a glossy cover on the hard?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They
May
did
we see can we see the binding on the side? Oh yeah, that's nice.
yeah, they did a great job. And I kind of told her I wanted it in the background. I wanted a map of Germany, which is where all my ancestors are from. And so that's what she did in the background. And then she just laid my pictures on top and did the lettering. So she did a great job. I love the cover.
Wow. And once again, what was the name of that company?
No Waste Publishing.
Got it. Okay.
No Waste. Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll try one more time with the class. Let's see if there's any questions.
Yes, I had a question about the Zion Chapel of East Missouri. I see it's actually something that is it looks like it's maybe run by the library or associated with the library somehow.
We own it. We own that property. Yes.
Okay. And when I look online, I'm seeing some a list of like maybe only 24 people.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people buried there.
Okay. All right. So it's not a huge
right. No, it's probably maybe the size of your backyard.
All right.
And it's not huge.
Are they generally are there any African Americans buried there?
No. Well, actually, I shouldn't say no. There may be some, but not many, if there are. And I'm not exactly sure if there are or not, but at that time, they were not buried together. They had a whole separate gravesite, their own. And we do have several African American cemeteries on the island as well. So
how can I get a list of those?
Of those cemeteries? That's a good question. I
mean, I'm interested in this one too, but
let me make a note and see if I can. I will talk to our director and see if we have a list like that. Can't imagine we don't someplace, but let me find out, and I'll send it to Sue, and she can forward it to you.
Or she has your email address.
Yeah, that's fine. Send me an email.
Yeah. I'll send you an email. That's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. And and then I'll check with my director and see if we have a list of those someplace. I'm sure we probably do. And we actually have, now that I think about it, we do have lists of people that are buried in a lot of the cemeteries on Hilton Head. So I will look and see if I can find that too. If I can find a list of those and who's buried in them, and I can send you that.
All right. Yeah, I'm working with the WikiTree, and it's part of the 10 million names project, where we're trying to get African American profiles built out, and I think it would be something that would actually benefit your research that you're doing for the heirs properties, but also we may be able to get some profiles out there that would be helpful.
We have those people coming down to talk to us probably next month, I think.
WikiTree?
No, I'm sorry. The 10,000 names people.
10,000.
Okay. The 10 million names people.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. So they're our directors.
There are a lot of groups working with trying to, get that information out there. And I know the DAR actually was also is supportive of it, and has been putting their records out and making those available. So, if you're want to pass that along to the people that are doing the research, that would be
yes, I will.
A lot of information out there on the DAR site.
Yeah. Okay. We the other thing that I didn't mention, we have on the island a place called Mitchellville, that when the Union forces came onto the island and all the Confederates fled, they left their plantations and their crops and their slaves, and they left a lot of slaves here. And so what the Union did, the general who was in charge at that time gave them a plot of land and said, here, they helped them build little houses, and they said, it's your town, you run it. And they kind of stepped back. And so the African Americans set up their own government. They had mandatory education for the kids, and had stores. They ran the whole thing. And at the end of the war, most of those African Americans had come from other places. They had fled from other places in the South here because it was Union controlled. They went back home. But they're trying now to get Mitchellville kind of reconstructed, so that people realize what was here. And so there's a lot of information, not a lot of information, a lot of programming going on with that. And they're trying to get money to build the town, rebuild the town as much as they can. So they've got a couple of buildings there in the area, and they're doing a lot of outreach and a lot of education on that too.
Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? These are some good questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Give it another few seconds.
All I can say is you've made me want to come visit Hilton Head Island.
Well, good. Yeah, it's a nice place too. Best time to come is in the fall or in the spring. Don't come between June and August.
Most places in the southern states.
Mhm.
Okay, well, it looks like, Jane, you've answered all the questions. So I
Great.
want to say thank you for not only your expertise and your time today, but also thank you for allowing us to record. And I just want to, before I say goodbye, I want to remind the class that if you're going to stay with us for the second half of class, and you're all invited to stay, please feel free to stay on. If you'd like to leave us at this point in time, please remember that if there's anything in the chat box that you want, please download it before you leave. And with that, Jane, I'll say thank you very, very much.
Great, my pleasure. And I hope to hear from some of you, and maybe meet some of you if you get a chance to come visit us.